Hey everyone, it's Brian Kosh of the Cost of Crypto. Let me start off by saying that this episode's not going to have the cleanest audio, and I apologize for that. And there's multiple reasons. One, it seems to be just how things have been going the last couple weeks, where Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong is deciding to go wrong. I've had two computers go out from under me. I bought a new power supply, and when I tried to install them, there was some sort of a power surge or something like that, and the drives basically just went kerplunk. So I've been working on that. It's tax season, where every year at this time of year, Americans have to file with the Internal Revenue Service their federal tax returns. So I've been working on that. I've been trying to do troubleshooting on the computers, get the drives recovered, try and get basic things up and running, and it's been a chore. So my production schedule for Cost of Crypto episodes has not been consistent, but I plow ahead. I just go. So in this new episode, I'm going to be looking at episode 17. I'm going to be looking at Should I Buy Dogecoin, Part 2. When I made the first Dogecoin video, it was done more as a cautionary tale. There was a lot of hype, and I wanted to point out how that hype was dangerous. And over the weekend, I had a chance to watch a few videos from outside voices talking about Dogecoin, people that do investment advice, or people that were just answering the question that everyday people are asking, hey, should I buy Dogecoin? And one of the points that came up into my mind with Dogecoin was ultimately what it boils down to is you can buy Dogecoin, but I wouldn't invest in it. Dogecoin is similar to a hobby coin, what basically is a hobby coin, similar to Vertcoin, Peercoin, Blackcoin, SmartCash, Monocoin, and there's several other coins out there that I probably can't even think of that might still be hobbling along that were created in cryptocurrency's early days. And these coins were created to solve the problem of slow transaction times because 10 minutes on the Bitcoin blockchain was a long time to wait for a confirmation. For years, you'd hear the argument 10 minutes is a long time to wait for payment for a cup of coffee. Well, a lot of people came up with the idea of how can we take the basic structure of blockchain technology in Bitcoin and make something of a faster transaction time. And that's where a lot of these coins came in. Vertcoin, I believe, has 1 minute or 1 minute 30-second blocks. I think Peercoin has 1 minute blocks. SmartCash has 1 minute blocks. I believe Digibyte even has 1 minute blocks. And a lot of these coins were looking to solve the issue of transaction times in a layer one solution. When I say layer one, I mean transactions that are confirmed on the blockchain. By having a faster blockchain confirmation time, you make it a more practical and usable cryptocurrency. Well, with the advent of the second layer solution for the Bitcoin network, and by second layer, I mean something built on top of the Bitcoin network. With the advent of the creation of the Lightning Network, all these coins and their use cases have basically been made null and void because the Lightning Network solves the issue of slow transaction times by performing instantaneous transactions. And then on the back end, at a later point, the on-chain transaction occurs. So you're not limited when you use the Lightning Network for transactions by the 10-minute confirmation block times. Well, a lot of these coins, of which Dogecoin is among them, there's characteristics to them that make them worthwhile. You know, a lot of them have really great communities where there are people who contribute in different ways, whether it's social media awareness, whether it is digital art, whether it is making videos, whether it is contributing developer time to making these projects these coins have relatively good code where people are, even if it's just as hobby work, they're still contributing to updating the code, keeping the project relevant, working on holes and flaws. But because these are projects that aren't being adopted on a mass scale, because they're not getting the institutional money, because they're not getting the high profile, they're pretty much stuck in the status of being a hobby coin. And don't get me wrong, as far as value goes, in a bear market, or excuse me, in a bull market, the price will go up. The relative price will go up. Relative to Bitcoin, maybe not so much. Or some of the other projects that have much more usage and adoption, not so much. But when I think back to 2017, all these projects went up. All these projects, their prices did very well. But now in this cycle, you need to have the rubber to the road. You need to have a project that is growing. Otherwise, no one cares. It doesn't matter. In the big picture sense, the mainstream adoption, the mainstream, it does not matter. But before I go on, I want to take a brief pause with a word from our sponsor. Hello, everyone. I want to tell you about my favorite podcast tool. It's Anchor FM. It's got everything you need to make a podcast. Recording function, sound clips, background music, transitions. You can upload your own audio files, and you can use Anchor's built-in editing tools to make a great podcast. Anchor will distribute your podcast among multiple platforms so that the more you grow, the greater your reach becomes. You can also monetize your episodes right off the bat, no minimum audience. You can get started making your podcast right from your phone or PC. So don't wait. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. One experience that I had with this to relate would be with SmartCash, and this is where I learned my lesson. SmartCash, at the time, it was created in 2017, and it had a lot of good characteristics built into the code. You had a governance model where, like Dash, people that run a master node, which is a node that performs special functions, that you have to stake, meaning lock up a certain amount of coins in order to run. They had a voting rights within the governance of how to spend funds that are earned from mining rewards and go into essentially like a community fund. With SmartCash, they had both those things. The mining rewards went into a community fund. Someone could submit a proposal such as, hey, I want to do a giveaway, or hey, I want to promote SmartCash at this event, and I'd like to have this funded by the community fund. And with Dash, the masternode holders would vote on the proposals. With SmartCash, one smart equals one vote. So anyone who holds SmartCash could vote on these proposals. And then similar to Dash, they also had masternodes. In the case of Dash, the masternodes performed their quick pay functions and I believe their privacy transaction function. With SmartCash, their masternodes performed, it's not coming clear to my mind. It was something that had to do with, I think they processed the smart rewards. And what smart rewards were, if you owned more than, I believe, 1,000 smart and you locked it or essentially staked it in your wallet, you would be eligible for like a 1 to 2% weekly or bi-weekly reward. And also they had fast transaction times. They had a lot of teams working on different areas as far as the tech goes. And there was a lot of good to it. But as the bear market of 2018 and 19 wore on, the price continued to degrade. And then as the new bull market started coming around, it was just lagging behind. And that's when I learned my lesson that these coins are just, they're good for transactions, but they're not good for a store of wealth. One way of looking at it is that if you look at a traditional finance and the different kinds of banking accounts you can have, at least in the United States, we have the savings account, which usually pays a little bit of interest, and the checking account, which usually doesn't pay any interest and you use for, say, depositing your paycheck and also for paying your bills. And the idea is that it's money that moves in and moves out. You're not using that to save up money. That's where you have the savings account. Well, these coins are more akin to checking accounts where you can use the money, but don't put money into them with the expectation of building up wealth. The guarantees are much less so than, say, Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of the other top 10, top 20 projects. With Dogecoin, what makes that a coin that is our crypto checking account is that when it was created, it was literally done as a meme, as a joke. It was not meant to be a serious store of wealth or a serious network the way Bitcoin became. And this translates as far as how much adoption goes on and how much developer contributions there are. In the last few years, developer contributions is next to nothing. There's not been much done to tighten up the network, tighten up the code, make changes, upgrades. It's just sort of been running with its momentum just as is. And then also, the supply of Dogecoin is not capped the way Bitcoin is. The supply of Dogecoin is unlimited. If Dogecoin were to run for 100 years, the supply would be growing for 100 years. And when one of the videos that I watched over the weekend, the gentleman said, I don't remember if he said based on today's prices, the amount of money that it would take to purchase all the new Dogecoin produced in a day would be I want to say he said like something around 700,000 US dollars, or it would be 70,000, but I want to say it was 700,000, which that's just to maintain the value and the price relative to the supply. So on a long-term scale, the inflation schedule is just going to eat away at the price. And in that sense, it's not sustainable. But Dogecoin has a great community. Dogecoin is fun to play with. It has fast transaction times. So absolutely, in that respect, if you want to get involved with Dogecoin, go right ahead. But this, for all intents and purposes, is a series of very large pumps of a coin that can't sustain relative to the current size of the total market value of cryptocurrencies, its current valuation. Now, does that mean it's going to hang around in the 50 to 60 cent range and go sideways through the rest of this bull cycle? I don't know. I have no idea where prices are going to go. All I know is that I would not be putting money into Doge personally if looking to invest in something. I would buy some Doge, maybe, $20, $30 worth to play around with. Maybe not even that. If I wanted to buy something with it, buying some and then spending it. But yeah, I'm not good enough to trade, so that's where I stand. So the question, should you buy Dogecoin? It's up to you. It's up to your goals. But I laid out the reasons why you shouldn't, or at least make it a store of wealth and try and make something of it in the long term. And I hope it helps. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode. Thanks for listening. You can follow along with the Cost of Crypto on Anchor FM, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Overcast, Radio Public, and Spotify. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook, and I've got video platforms on Brighteon, BitChute, and Odyssey /library. So with that, I will say be well, everyone.